Back to Sunrise, what a session we had there, but let's now move on to discuss data and information. Babajide Ogunsanwo joins us. He's our data and information analyst. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Good morning.
Well, clearly, there were some security issues that needed to have been sorted out, and thankfully, we're talking about security now. You've been digging in, looking into all of these matters, which has been there for a while. Tell us, what have you been looking into and what did you find?
Several things. If there was no oil at Ugborodo, for instance, we would be having all these arguments. So oil is at the center of all of this. But beyond oil, the number one question on the lips of Nigerians today is, how do we ensure the security of life and property for all Nigerians, not only those in Ugborodo? So to understand security and how the police play a huge role in this, we need to look at what had happened half a century ago. That is the foundation. Now let's look at what happened in the beginning. We only had 4 regions: the northern region, the eastern region, the western region, and the midwestern region. And I'll explain why the movement from regions to states impacts on security. So we had moved from 4 regions to states. Now, the former eastern region currently has 2 states, Edo and Delta states. The former western region, the old western region currently today, is 6 states. The old eastern region is 9 states. So again, Midwest 2, the old west 6, and the old eastern region 9, 2, 6, 9. But what happened to the old northern region? It didn't have 2 states. It wasn't broken into 6, not 9, 19 states. And so we should ask ourselves, was the old northern region more culturally or ethnic diverse than these 3 other regions? Now, the evidence shows no, that the northern region wasn't more diverse. The reason why the northern region had significantly more states than these other 3 old regions was because of oil. How the oil money, Gimba, is shared.
So the more numbers you have there, the more money they get.
Exactly. So let's look at the second thing, how this oil money is shared. 53% yes goes to the federal government. 27% comes to the states. But Gimba, that is not the real problem. The problem is, out of the 27% that comes to the states, how is it shared? 40% of that money is shared equally among all 36 states. And that is where the problem is. How do we police our revenue before we even police the lives of people? And so, from the genesis of the not having more states and how the states share this oil money, again, out of the 27% of monies that goes to the states, 40% of this amount is shared equally among states. And so, just as we have religious extremists, we also have extremists on the principles of equity. Now, what do those extremists on the principles of equity say? They say that all states should have 19. In fact, what they advocate is for those former 4 old regions, if all of them had 19 states, we'll have 76 states in total. And again, there's a reason why they call for this in Yota. And that is because money is being shared equally among states. And so the old western region that has 6 states today, if it did have 19 states, it will have more money. The old eastern region that has only 9 states today, if it also had 19 states, they will have more money.
Plus more representation.
Plus more representation. And that is the main issue, that we are not even policing our revenue well.
So we're not sure if that translates to more development, though. Maybe that's a different argument.
Now, that's a different argument. But today, let's also look at, outside how we police and how we guide this revenue, let's look at how we police the people. Now, the first myth is, where are our police officers? So let's look at where the police officers are concentrated.
Okay, let's do that when we return, and that will be in a moment. Don't go away. Welcome back. You were talking about you're going to tell us where are the police officers?
So the police is structured across 12 zones. But out of the 12 zones, 3 zones hold half of all the police officers. So you have zone 2 that has Lagos and Ogun. You also have zone 10 that has Abia, Anambra, Enugu and Imo.
You mean out of the 350,000 police force?
Exactly. So exactly. So out of that amount, 3 zones out of 12. In simple terms, 10 states, 10 out of 36 states account for where half of the police officers are. Lagos, Ogun, Abia, Anambra, Enugu, Imo, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, and Ebonyi. So those are the states that half of the country's police workforce are located. So we need to ask ourselves that why are they located in these areas? One argument is unemployment is a cause of crime. But is that a fact or is that a myth? Now the evidence shows a very weak correlation, Chamberlain, a very insignificant relationship between unemployment and crime. Let's look at across the 6 zones. The evidence from the National Bureau of Statistics is that the zone that has the highest level of unemployment is the South-South. Approximately 4.7 million people are unemployed. But do they have the highest crime? No, they don't. Do they have the second highest crime? No, they don't. Let's look at the region that has the lowest number of unemployed people, the Northeast. Approximately 1.7 million people without a job. That is a high number. But do low unemployment figures relate to low unemployment? So even though the Northeast has the lowest number of unemployed people, do they have the lowest cases of reported crime? No, they don't. Do they have the second lowest cases of reported crime? No, they don't. So the fact is, high unemployment isn't correlated to crime. So what is correlated to crime? Now the evidence we've seen is the states that have high number of police officers are the states that also have the highest number of criminals. But we also have to be careful that we don't conclude based on correlation to mean causality. So that the states that have high criminals, also the states that have the higher number of policemen, does not mean the policemen are the ones involved in the crime. The evidence shows us what is the real cause of crime in this nation. And that is if we look at how the money is being shared. Let's look at what happened in 2016 and the cases of reported crime in 2016. The 4 states that collected the most amount of money from that federation account called FAC, Lagos, Rivers, Delta, Akwa Ibom. These 4 states account for half of all cases of crime. So clearly we can see that criminals are following the money.
They're following the money.
Let's look at the case.
Not people's social cultural disposition.
Oh yes. So what is really happening is, let's look at the case of Lagos that earned in just the first half of last year 168 billion naira, more money than 30 states combined together. Lagos State accounts for 1/3 of crime cases reported. But because of time, we'll still have to discuss this perhaps much in depth in some other time. But we need to be careful that even though state policing is one way to go, it is not only the way to go. The evidence does suggest that there are several other things apart from state policing that should be considered first. And in the words of Indira Gandhi, we should be careful that the problems, the solutions that we prefer today do not create bigger problems in the future.
Babajide Ogunsanwo is our data and information analyst. Thank you for coming on this morning. And that's the show as well today. Thank you for watching. Oh, that is our jury. I'm Chamberlain, so we'll see you next time.
I'm Gimba Omar. Bye for now.
And I'm Neota Egbe.
I'm Ajuri Ngalale, and I hope everybody can get to the show and have a great weekend.
I guess they're in a hurry. Sorry about that, Ajuri. They're in a hurry to go.